And we're back again. This is video number 3. I've posted them out of order for some reason. This is video number 3. So we have done bruises. I did swelling with the nose and scar wax, and you're gonna have so much fun cutting into that and putting blood into it when we get to the cuts one, which should be next. We'll see. And then this one is gonna be how to actually like fully cover over an eye and do swelling for that. So let's go ahead and pull up a research image for that so that we have something to reference. I'm just going to type in swollen shut eyebrows, and we'll see what we come up with for that, including some people who are smiling a whole lot, which I question that choice, but that's fine. Okay, so we have a UFC fighter who's got a pretty messed up face. I'm not going to show this to you because that doesn't, I'm not going to do it. But if you're curious, I'm looking at UFC fighter Donald Cerrone, Cerrone, with his eye swelling shut. It's intense. So I'm not gonna show it to you, but that's the reference I'm using for this. I will say UFC fighting injuries way creepier than just regular boxing, so keep that in mind. That's hardcore. Okay, so to do this, we are gonna need some tissue. You can use toilet paper, you can use actual like tissue paper, or you can use like sneezy coffee tissue paper. Typically these come in layers, so you want to go ahead and divide it out so you're working with your thinnest possible layer. This tissue pack that I have, each tissue is actually 4 layers, so I just want to use one. And I'm just going to tear this into a roughly eye-ish shape. I will say this is way easier to apply on someone else instead of yourself. In the past, I always encouraged students to find models if they wanted to for any of their makeup projects, but you guys can't, so don't. Okay, so our next step is going to involve liquid latex. If you happen to be allergic to liquid latex, do not use the liquid latex. Instead, use school glue, which is super cheap. And it's probably gentler on your skin. For the sake of this, I'm going to use the school glue for this one. And I'm going to switch to the latex for later things, but I'm going to use both so that depending on, if you do happen to have a latex allergy, you can see in action what your other option is. But I'm also going to use the latex too because that's the most commonly used thing. For this, regardless of if you are using your latex or your school glue, you are going to want a brush. I'm using a cheap paintbrush, but you're going to want a brush that you can say goodbye forever to. If you're using your school glue, you can probably wash it out with warm soap and water. If you're using the latex, you're never getting it back. So do not use a makeup brush for this because those are much more expensive than cheap, crappy paintbrushes. So fair warning, don't do it. So what I'm actually going to start off by doing is getting the edges of this a little bit wet and brushing them into place, so that I don't have to sit here awkwardly holding it the whole time. Okay, that didn't actually work out like I wanted it to. So maybe I will just awkwardly hold it until I get it attached. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. So like I said, this time around I'm gonna go ahead and use my glue. I would recommend that you close your eye that is underneath here while doing this. But it's your face, it's your eye, it's your life. You do you. Try not to get too much tension on your little skin flap that we're making here. It's okay to like let it bubble up over your eye because again it's swollen shut, right? So it's cool if it has a few wrinkles and looks a little swollen. We can also trim it down with scissors that I still did not go and get, despite the fact this is the 3rd video and I've had ample opportunity to go get something to cut stuff with. I will go ahead and warn you, regardless of if it's latex or glue, it's not going to smell awesome. So just bear in mind, this is not going to be your favorite smelling thing you have ever done in your life. Okay. So sad times at the eyeball factory today. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm gonna put this glue aside and this used brush aside. I'm gonna wipe off my hands. Now we need this to dry before we can do our next step, which is handy. So while that's happening, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about cuts. So I lied, we'll start talking about cuts with this one. So while this is drying, I'm going to reach into my kit and I'm going to get out my red eyeliner. Remember our friend from back in the day? Now, the simplest, easiest way to do a cut, actually I'm gonna do it on my hand because I can see that better. Although you can't see me applying it, can you? So never mind. I'll do it on my face. One eye in the mirror is a really interesting way to okay, so at its most basic, that's a cut, right? Ouch, it hurts. It's probably really creepy, but you can see that I've got my eye open underneath this. I'm gonna take a little bit of violet on this brush here, and hopefully my depth perception isn't totally off. See, just by adding a little bit of shadow, we make that more of an ouchie, right? Now we're gonna add a little bit of black. Okay, and now we're gonna add some red back on top of that. The thing with black is that it's very handy, but you almost always want to put red on top of the black because otherwise you just have black hanging out, which is kind of a strange thing. But black underneath red is really great because it gives it a lot of depth and makes it look pretty deep. Okay, ouch. And I'm not even using blood, right? But that's definitely a cut, and it definitely, you know, ouch. Okay, while this is still drying, let's go ahead and talk about blood. So, if you want, you are more than welcome to just go buy blood. Again, it's the season, so you can just go anywhere and buy a little fake blood. But say you want to make your own. This is going to be a very simple three ingredient blood. I guess technically 4, but really 3 ingredients. So I'm using the Tupperware. You need corn syrup, not cooking corn oil, but corn syrup, which has no high fructose corn syrup in it, which is great. I didn't realize there's actually a difference between the two. And it has vanilla, so our blood's gonna be a little vanilla-y, which is exciting. I probably should open this ahead of time. It's like an unboxing video, but for your face. I can really taste the vanilla. Okay, so I'm gonna pour a goodly amount in there. About yay much. There are going to be different blood recipes for different things. So for example, if we were going to make blood that we needed to wash out of a costume every single night, we would put some red, blue, or green Dawn dish soap in our blood mixture because that will help prevent the stain from setting. Because we're not doing that for this, I'm not going to put dish soap in it. I'm going to make this a fully edible blood. So I've got some red food coloring here. I'm gonna go ahead and do quite a few drops. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add blue food coloring. I'm just gonna do like 2 or 3 drops because sometimes the red, as we have already learned with makeup, can become really orangey. So by adding a little bit of blue to it, it's going to keep it from being too orange. There's nothing I hate more than seeing really bad fake blood. And then our last ingredient, chocolate syrup. I would not recommend doing this on something that you're going to wash because it's chocolate, so it's going to stain. But because we're not washing this, I don't care. Adding the chocolate syrup in there gives it some really great depth of color. It's just like when we were talking about adding the black underneath our red paint. It's kind of like that because it, again, gives it just this really great depth, and it also helps with the consistency to make it really nice and thick too. So I would start off with aiming for really thick blood. This is gonna be so gross. And then thinning it down as needed. Oh man, that's pretty vicious. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more corn syrup. And we're gonna mix that up some more. I'm drying eventually. Probably should have, I don't know, I guess I could stop the video, but I had to show you this anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so lid back on, really nice and firm. You could just stir, but like, why stir when you can shake it? I say is the lid will probably fly off and I'll get blood everywhere. And that's why you don't shake things. That's a lot of chocolate syrup. And it tastes very chocolatey. I'm actually gonna dump a little bit of this out so I can take care of some of the chocolateness. I'm used to making like big batches of blood. Which we don't need for the sake of this. The other thing that's really cool, oh, that's so gross, is that the chocolate syrup will also like give you these nice like stringy, clotty action stuff happening. It's super gross, I know. Okay, so back to our corn syrup. And I'm gonna do, so I basically dumped most of it out so that I just was left with kind of like a dirty container. So I'm gonna add some more red food coloring, but I'm not gonna add any of the blue or the chocolate syrup yet. And we're just gonna see how she looks. And I'm also gonna stir it. Ooh, that's gross. Super gross. How beautiful are you? Okay, truly this is my favorite thing to do, is to do this kind of stuff. So personally, I think that this could stand to be darker, but we're going to apply some and then see how we like her. The if you buy the blood, the pre-made fake blood, it should also, for the most part, be edible. It will say on there if it is or not. Don't eat it if it's not. It usually tastes like mint. So, you know, if you got a thing for mint, do it that way, or put peppermint oil in your homemade. I don't know. But if you like chocolate or vanilla, also, just so you all know, I have an assistant today who might be popping in. This is my daughter, Eleanor. Check it out, we got some blood.
But you didn't even use me.
I'm going to.
Now? With your chocolate?
Okay. Hang tight, everybody.